Good afternoon. I was just plugging in my little lion and turning it on. So I was ready for you, but it started a bit quick. So hello and Happy New Year, and welcome to my first live of 2023. Can you believe we're in 2023? So it's been a while since I've done a live. So hello, thank you. I can see some people are joining me. What I'll do, because I'm on my own today, I've set myself up in my sewing studio. So I'm logged in here to Facebook. Bear with. And then I'll be able to hopefully see your comments. So if I miss anything, I will try and get through them afterwards, you know, when we finish. But it'd be nice if I can chat with you as we go through. Ah, yes, there we go. Yeah. So I should be able to see your comments as we as we're live. So if you've got any comments or questions or anything, then please just ask. So yeah, thank you for coming on. There's a few of us on, so it's lovely to see you and so nice to be back. Well, with the end of the year and finishing things off and what have you, and everyone seems to have had this really bad cold, haven't they? I know I did. So everything got a little bit paused and had a bit of a break over Christmas holidays, and now we're back, well and truly back. So that's really nice. So thanks for joining me. So these will be regular slots, unless I'm elsewhere during that week where I've already got appointments or things on, then I'll change it. I'll just change the day. But on the whole, they'll be every week on a Tuesday at 2. So that'll be good. So regular slot. And I'll be doing hand sewing, some EPP, because I'm going to tell you a bit more about that later. Machine sewing, all sorts of things, just little techniques. And just a general bit of chat, almost like a sewing question time, you know, like gardener's question time. It's a bit like that. So lots going on. Excuse my coughing. Lots and lots going on the website. So there's lots of new products, new events, new workshops coming up. Obviously it's the start of the year, so we're starting afresh with everything. So I've got some beginners crochet workshops coming up. They're local, so I'm in Melton Mowbray. So if you're in Leicestershire, then it's not bad to get to in terms of travel. So I've got those happening on the 1st of Feb, the 4th of March and the 29th of April. I think the 4th of March is fully booked. One of them is fully booked. When you go on to, you can either follow the link on my website. So if you go to workshops and events, you can follow the link to the beginners crochet classes. And that will then take you to a link to, oh, hello. So I've got Lympha here for the first time and Dawn. Hello. Thank you for joining me. So yeah, if you go to the link on the website, what that does, it takes you to another website, which is Trazilian House. It's a beautiful guest house in Melton Mowbray. Lovely Alison owns it. And she's got a lovely log cabin in the garden there, in the grounds. So I do the classes from there. So if you go onto that website, the links for that is on my website. All sounds very complicated. If you go onto that, then you can just follow the link and book the class. And then there's a drop down list, because somebody messaged me and said, oh Debbie, I can't see all the dates. But there's a drop down list that will tell you all the 3 dates. Then you just click the one. Off topic, but I adore your hair. Thanks, Dawn. Yeah, every time I go, I have it a bit choppier and a bit shorter. By the summer, it'll just be totally, you know, cool. But yeah, thank you. So much easier to manage as well. And we like off topic, don't we? We don't want to, or do we always want to talk about sewing? I don't know. Oh, hello, Kath. Oh, lovely to have you here, Kath. I've missed you. I've missed everybody. It just seems so long since I've seen people. I was supposed to be on Sewing Street the week before Christmas, but I was poorly, so I couldn't go. I was supposed to be on Hobby Maker on Christmas Eve, which would have been great, but I couldn't go to that either because I was poorly. So yeah, with just one thing and another, it just seems ages since I've been. I'm still here. I'm still busy sewing around in the background, or crocheting, finishing off our mood blankets. Hey, Kath. But yeah, I just haven't been as visible. So I'm back. So thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. So what's Sewing Street, Lympha? So Sewing Street is a shopping channel. which is on every day. If I'm not looking at you and I'm looking here, it's just because I'm looking at the Facebook Live so I can see your comments, because Dave's out today, so I've got to I'm looking at my own comments, which is probably a bit easier to manage. Between me and Dave, we used to miss them, so I'll try on my own. So Sewing Street is a shopping channel. It's on Sky 670, or if you're on Freeview, it's channel 73. It's on every day. And it's a sewing channel dedicated to sewing. There's Yarn Lane as well, which is just some crochet and some knitting, and crafts with wool and yarn. So I demonstrate on that show once every month, there or thereabouts, about once every 6 weeks. So that's where I showcase my products. So some of the things you're going to see here today have been on there. What I generally do is launch my products, my patterns. So I write patterns. So for example, here's one. So this is one of my sewing patterns for the Hexie pincushion. For those of you who know me, who followed me for a while, I'm EPP, English paper piecing or patchwork is my thing. That's what I enjoy. Well, you do the little hexagons usually, or different shapes, and you sew them all together, and you can make products with it. So this is for the Hexie pincushion. I just call them Hexies, short for hexagons. So I will take a pattern onto Sewing Street. They have it for a while where it's sold exclusively with them. And then after 3 months, it comes back to me and I can put it on my website and sell it to you guys. So I sell all my stuff, all my patterns and kits. So for some of the patterns, there are kits available like this one. So this is the Trio of Hearts. That's what we're going to be looking at today. And I'm going to tell you about a really good offer I've got on those as well at the moment. They're Liberty kits. So that's all Liberty fabrics. And they go onto Sewing Street. And then once they come back to me, and they always belong to me, but, you know, come back so that I can sell them. I sell them on my website, which is debbieharrisdesigns.co.uk. And I also go nationally to the big shows and exhibitions at the NEC in London. I went to the quilt fair in Ireland last year. All over the place just to reach out and see you. So, and sell all my things. I would love to crochet, keep trying, but I end up with a mess, so I'll have to I've given up for a while. Diane, don't give it up. If you go onto YouTube, go onto my YouTube channel, which is Debbie Harris Designs. Sorry about my cough. If you go onto there, there's about 7 or 8 videos that I've put on of me sat showing you how to crochet. So please don't give up. A couple of the lives I may well do, you know, they're not all sewing, they're not all hand sewing or machine sewing. There'll be a variety of things. So please don't give up, because I've taught people, honestly, I've taught people to crochet who tried for years and years to crochet, and they've actually managed it now and produced some amazing blankets last year. So yeah, oh, thank you, Dawn, bless you. She's put a link to my website on. Thanks, Dawn. It's like having my own little assistant. It's fab. Can you zoom me a cup of tea in or something, Dawn? Have we got that kind of technology? Thanks, Dawn. So, yeah, so all my kits and patterns are on the website. One thing that I want to sort of show you today is all the other bits and bobs I've got on my website, because although I'm a designer, and there are lots of my products on there. Oh yeah, have a look, Diane, that'd be good. Let me know what you think, but hopefully you'll find something on there. Kath, look, she learned from me, bless you. And we did lots of stuff last year, didn't we, Kath, with blankets. We did a mood blanket, which was crocheting a little square each day of a different colour, and the colour reflected our mood. And then we made 365 little squares, just one every day, or sometimes you miss a day and do a couple the next day or whatever. I'm sat at my computer sprinting to work, doing this. Yeah, we crocheted a big blanket. So someone like Kath and Judith last year, we crocheted this big blanket over the course of the year, and they were complete beginners, hadn't crocheted or had tried to crochet before but couldn't. So I like to think that I make sewing, crochet, knitting accessible. I don't do so much of the knitting really. It's mainly mainly sewing, then crochet, then some knitting. But if you look on the website, so when you go on there, there's two parts to it in terms of the shop. So you can see on the shop there's patterns and kits, which are all my patterns and kits. That's what it says on the tin. And then if you go on to the other section in the shop, it's called Haberdashery Essentials. Now in there is everything else. When I say everything else, I don't mean I go to the wholesalers and I go, oh, that's nice. Oh, they're nice scissors. I'll have them. Jill, I'm having trouble learning to crochet, although I knit and sew a lot. What would you recommend? I'm out soon for school. Oh, okay, Jill. Again, do you know, I think if you knit, it's harder to learn to crochet because you're so used to doing it with 2 needles. So I find that in workshops, crochet workshops, but have a look at my YouTube channel because there's about 6 or 7 videos of me, not so much like this. I do a bit of chat, but it's very much demonstrating how to crochet, how to cast on, how to do a treble crochet, how to crochet 2 squares together, how to change colour. There's all sorts on there, and I will be following that up on the lives as well. So please don't give up. That's my biggest tip, of especially 2023. It's January, isn't it? And oh, thanks Diane. Yeah, just subscribe. So what I'll also do is upload these videos on there onto YouTube, so everything I do is visible. You know, you can see it. But those crochet ones, they're about, oh, I don't know, 18 months old now, but I mean the technique's the same. And like I say, if you keep tuning into these lives, then I will be doing more and more crochet and knitting. Pocket scarf is the biggest, one of the biggest sellers we've got this year. It's just as simple. Is it just Debbie Harris? It's Debbie Harris Designs, Jill. So if you go onto YouTube and type in Debbie Harris Designs, it should come up. Yeah, and you'll see my little pink logo, you know, with the elephant on. So have a look. Maybe Dawn will put the link off for me. I must owe Dawn a cup of tea at this rate. I owe her one, not the other way around. So yeah, the pocket scarf is a firm favourite because it has I've got one downstairs. It's so chunky and nice. It's in really super chunky XL yarn, which is from Starcraft. And it's got a really nice chunky scarf with pockets in and tassels. You can leave the tassels off, but they make a nice addition to it. Perfect for walking the dog. If you're out in the cold, you could put it on over your coat and just put your hands in your pockets. So that's really nice. And they come as a pattern like this. I haven't got all my patterns with me today, but if you go online, they're all there. And then this pocket scarf has got loads of different coloured kits. Some reds, a really nice navy, a grey, a mustard. So lovely. Sorry to interrupt. Dawn is interrupting me again, she says. I've just put your Millydale pattern finally. Oh, Dawn, that's amazing. Thank you. And good luck with that. And, Jill's saying, I lived in Melt. I know your name, Jill, don't I? I do know you. I lived in Melt for over 34 years, but now in Devon. I could have come to your classes. Oh, I'll tell you what, Jill, if I could stay over at yours, I'll come to Devon. How does that sound? Oh, I love the idea of living at the seaside. When you live somewhere like Melton, where you're very central, aren't you? Going to the seaside is lovely, is a real pleasure. And I love Devon. We went down there actually in the summer, last summer, in our little camper van. So thanks for coming, Jill. But yeah, it's a bit of a way to travel, isn't it, from Devon? But like I say, keep an eye out, look on YouTube, and we'll do some classes, you know, in these lives. But yeah, so there's lots of stuff on there. You're going to have to remind me if I go off track, because I can feel I'm going off on tangents already. One thing that the new offer that I've put on just this morning on the website is everyone, and this, I've backdated this for people who have ordered already, everyone one-to-one crochet class, you'd be welcome. Well, you never know, Jill, do you? Thank you. Every order that is placed in January, I'm going to send you a free Trio of Hearts pattern. So not the kit, but I'm going to send you the pattern. So with the pattern, you get this. So for everyone who orders anything this January, you'll get a free one of these. So it's got the instructions, full instructions, colour instructions. All my patterns look like this, so they're really clear. I try to write my patterns as I like to read patterns, so they're step by step, colour photos that I take myself, sat here, all really clear, and then there's pattern pieces as well. So you can just use those, photocopy those, you can reuse them. So everything you need is in the pattern to tell you what to do, and what you need is on the back. And then if you decide to go for a Trio of Hearts kit, then in the kit you get enough fabric to make the wants to join you on video. What's this? Oh, okay. Jill, are you going to come on video? I don't know how this works. If they accept, they can join your video with audio only. Your audience is set to public, so anyone can watch this live. Oh, I don't know what that is, Jill. It's saying you want to join the video. Let me know what you're trying to do. Oh, thank you. Yeah, that. I am generous, Dawn. That's what I'm like. That's what I'm like. I'm just generous. I want to share the love. So you'll get one of these, Dawn, with your order. But yeah, if anybody wants to order the kit, you'll obviously get the Trio of Hearts pattern in that kit. So I will slip in a special gift as well as another pattern for free. But you'll get all the fabric you need, and then you also get in that kit the beads to make the hanging hearts, and in this little bag here with the heart on, you get the clasp, the lobster clasp for the key ring, and a little charm as well. So everything you need apart from the filling is in there. So you'll get that free with every order, and these kits. Now these kits, let me just check while I'm here, because I don't know what I was going to do before I came on live. I've been on the website this morning making sure everything's on there for you. Let me look at the Trio of Hearts kit. Let me look, because Liberty kit, yeah, so that is £16.99 literally now on the website. Let me go in and quick edit, because I was going to put that down to £9.99 while we're doing the live. £9.99. So, but if you're watching this and it's not live, have a look, because I'll probably forget to change it and it'll always be £9.99. So that kit, let me just make sure it's updated on the website, so I can see that you're going to get a good deal there. The kit is, I've gone into, so Haberdashery Essentials, that's the other thing I was telling you. Haberdashery Essentials is, I don't just go to the wholesalers and say, oh, they're nice, they're nice, they're nice. Everything that's on the website for my Haberdashery Essentials is something I use. So whether it's scissors, crochet hooks, fabric, my tape templates for the hexagons, absolutely everything is what I use. I won't sell anything that I don't use myself. I'm not sponsored by anyone. No one gives me free stuff. So if you see anything on my website, I'm just looking for the Trio of Hearts kit to make sure it's gone down to £9.99 on the website. Trio of Hearts Liberty Fabric Kit, £9.99. Yep, so you can, if you want to buy that, that is £9.99 today, the whole kit. And then because you've already purchased the Trio of Hearts pattern, I'll put another of my patterns in for free for you, so that you're getting a really good deal there. So yeah, everything, you know that everything I sell is kind of not approved by me. You don't need, you know what I mean? It's something I use. I'm trying to find something that I use that I've got here handy. So like the Best Press, I love Best Press. That's on my website because I use it. So I won't just buy anything at the wholesalers. It's very specific what I offer. So I think that's everything that I wanted to tell you about. Told you about the Trio of Hearts pattern that's free. I've made the Trio of Hearts kit, £9.99. That's Liberty Fabric. And there's lots of new products on the website as well, because while I was sort of having a bit of downtime after all those exhibitions last year leading up to Christmas, I have been adding to my pincushion collection. Now you know that I make patterns for certain pincushions, so that's the pattern for my sewing machine pincushion. That is by far our best-selling pattern. Everybody loves it. It is so nice. I haven't got the actual pincushion with me now. I base the pattern on a pincushion that I sell, which is, I've got one here. So that's the one that I sell. And then when we go out to the shows all over the country, people go, oh Debbie, I don't want to buy one, I want to make one. I mean, this is lovely, and a lot of people buy them as gifts, you know, for their friends who sew. But if you want to make your own one of these, then I have the pattern for that, and there's also kits for that with that lovely sewing machine fabric, you know, from Makower. I'll grab some of that in a minute to show you. So some of the pincushions, that one and the watering can, this one here, I have, and this watering can is so cute, look. So it's a little watering can, and then you take the lid off, which is still attached so you don't lose it, and then you've got a little, you know, pot there that you could put your pins in and thimbles and things. So that's another one that I have written a pattern for, so you can either buy it as it is like that. I've not made them, we buy these in, but I use it, and there is a pattern for that if you want to make your own, and a kit. The kit for those is so lovely, the garden fabric. Let me show you. Let me just go and grab, because I'm in the sewing studio, my sewing studio, so everything is on hand. I don't know if you can see. Yeah, you can still see me, look. I've not gone far, I've not left you. So what I'm getting here are the fabrics that I've got in the sewing room collection. So this is a sewing room collection of fabric from Makower, and these are super soft and lovely fabrics. Now they are limited now, not for me particularly, because what I did, it's a bit cheeky really. Well, it's not cheeky, I'm just planning. I've planned for the whole of this year. This fabric, you can still get it from other places, but this is the most popular one, especially for making this. And I literally got the last, I think it was about 100 meters in the end from Makower. She said, Debbie, I've only got 30 meters of, I was ordering so much of it. She said, I've only got 30 meters of that left, so I have it, because I can't get enough of it at the shows. So there's kits with that you can make this from, or you can buy just the fabric on its own. It's lovely, isn't it? Lovely to make a cushion for your sewing room or something. So there's lots of fabrics, but please know that, you know, when you buy anything from me, it's all come from here. There's only me. Dave helps out. Dave's my other half. A lot of you will have met Dave. He helps out here and there, but on the whole, it's just me, no one else. So everything's hand packed and picked and cut and put together by these fair hands. They're not very fair actually, they're very dry because of all the fabric they handle. Anyway, so pincushion. So let me show you what pincushions I've got in. Look! Now this one, let me check, because these are so new. I'm not sure if I've even put these on the website yet. These are so new. They must be. Let me check. So you go onto the website, go onto shop, Haberdashery Essentials, and then I think it's on about page 4. Yeah, I don't think they're on, you know, the caravans, because they are literally that new. Let me look. No, I'll have to put this on. Look at those for a pincushion, aren't they fab? And then I'm also going to make a pattern for you to be able to make something similar of your own. But and you can see how big they are. They're not too big, you know, but they're so lovely. They'll be on the website after this. The beehives, they're really nice. I do have a thing for pincushions. I collect them. So why wouldn't I get them in for you guys as well? Oh, Lympha, yeah, they're so cute, aren't they, all of them? That's a little teacup with a little tea bag in. you know, so it's got that little tab. Another beehive in a different colour, but I will double check that all of them are on the website, because I don't want you to miss out. Look at a bunny cat! So that's another one. And these, oh, there's another teacup as well, a grey one. That was really popular actually. That sold out in when we were in Harrogate in November. And this is my next pattern when I get around to it, which will hopefully be this month. These little elephants, these little elephant pincushions. Look at his little tail, look, with a little bell on the end. Now I've got this thing about elephants, as you probably know, and I've got to say that Audrey from Debbie's Orders. Oh, thank you, Kath. Thank you. I really appreciate that, Kath. Well, I pride myself on giving quick service, good service, and as quick, you know, once the order comes through, we get it out the next day in the post, or the same day if it's in time. So thank you, Kath. I really appreciate that. I like elephant bums. So I like this shape of its legs and its tail, and then seeing the ears from the back. That's my favourite thing. So I've always collected elephants. So these, when I saw these, I just thought they were fab. Look, you can't really appreciate them when on the screen there, but look. So this is this is another pattern I'm going to make. So there's lots of pincushions on the website if it's your thing. They're just great. I like having pincushions because I've got this sewing studio now, because obviously this is where I spend most of my day and evenings if I can. So I've got, like, on my desk here I've got a pincushion. By my sewing machine I've got a pincushion. Got one on the cutting desk behind me. I have pincushions all over, so I do have a bit of a thing for them. But yeah, I'll definitely put that one on the website once we finish the live. They're so lovely for presents as well, aren't they? And one last thing I want to show you before I get on with the demo is these super cute little sewing boxes that I've got in as well. So it's a lovely sort of rattan-y wicker sewing box with this again is Makower Fabric, called the Stitch in Time range. I can't get this fabric anymore. They stopped producing it for us to use ourselves, but you can still get it, you know, commercially in products. I've got a lovely quilter's mat in this fabric as well, and it's a lovely little sewing box, and I use that as my sewing box now. One of those. It's downstairs, because I occasionally do go downstairs and show my face and do a bit of sewing and crocheting. So they're on the website. They're this month's special buy. So lots and lots to share with you. And one other thing, and I know Kath, you could add your clips to the, oh, that's a good idea, Dawn. Yeah, so with the elephants, yeah, you could put your quilter's clips. Where are my quilter's clips? Do you know what? I've tidied, well, not tidied up, I've not tidied up, but I have moved things around. So my quilting clips are there. Yeah, so you can put the quilting clips on the tail, look. Brilliant idea, Dawn. Look at that. Fab. Love it. I just, look, there's one there. I love them. I have them like this because I just like to see them from behind with their ears sticking out. They're gorgeous. They're so nice. But there will be a pattern coming out if you'd prefer to make your own rather than buy one. And yes, going back to Kath. Kath loves these, my scrap bags. So I've put together about 50 of these scrap bags. So there's over a metre of fabric in each of my scrap bags, and they're £5. They're a fiver. So in this one, you can, well, shall I open it? Yeah, let's open it. Just so you can see how much fabric is in. Now I call them scrap bags, but they're scrap stroke remnant bags really, because they're not like scraps off my floor. I buy fabric in and cut it up and use a bit, and then whatever's left. So they're usually, I mean, you can see this is, you know, it's bigger than a fat eighth. So it's all, I won't say all, because you're going to get a piece every now and again that's not all, so I have to be careful. Majority of the fabric in it is designer. So for example, that's Moda, that is Tilda fabric, just the grey. They are not scrap. Yeah, the name doesn't do them justice. Yeah, that's a fair point, Kath. Thank you. Do you call them remnant bags? Because, yeah, they're definitely not scrap. Like this one, look. Makower Fabric. Absolutely beautiful. It's a good fat eighth. And I press them all as well. They're not sort of picked up off the floor. Some pieces, like this one, look, is, you know, more than a fat quarter. There's loads of fabric in those. So they are just £5, just because they're nice to have in, and I like to share those with you. So in that whole bag for £5, you're getting all that. It's quite a florally one, that is, and the spots obviously. But yeah, they're not scrap. They're just remnants, fabric remnants, I guess. But it's hard to do them justice when they're on the website. You can't see them, you know, and you can't feel them when we're out and about. They, you know, they fly off the shelves. But obviously when I'm online, you know, when you're just looking on the website, you can't feel the weight. But they're all the same. They all weigh the same. And there is more than a metre of fabric, and they're £5. So they're just a random. There's about 50 bags I put together this week. So you can, if you order one online, then I'll send you a random one. And I think that's everything of what we're doing, of what's been going on, what's happening, where we're at, classes and all sorts. So there's all my bits and bobs. So let's put that there. So if you've joined in to see me make a lavender heart, then that's what we're going to start doing now. So if you place an order with us, you're going to get this pattern free. So you don't need to buy this from me. Hearts are fairly easy to draw anyway yourself. But in this kit, in this pattern, you get the small heart for the keyring. You get, these are the pattern pieces. You get the 3 there. They're for the hanging hearts. So there's a large, medium and a small. So you make 3. They get smaller as you have each one attached together. So they're really nice. Obviously, if you were making that, you'd start with a larger one first. Then you'd cut the middle one out and then the smaller one out. But I always photocopy my patterns. So I never use the actual pattern itself. I always photocopy it. Or you could trace it onto freezer paper or tracing paper or something, pattern paper. And then that's the bigger heart, which makes the cushion. And I've done that on a previous live actually. Showed you how to do patchwork with the quilter's grid. So this is what we're doing today. So I'm going to show you how to make the small heart. Let me move my little elephants. So first of all, I'm going to move this camera because I've got a bit more control, so I can show you there, look. So I'm going to cut out the heart. There we go. I've never done the filming like this, so bear with me. I just wanted to give you, you know, make it as clear as possible and do it so that, you know, it didn't sort of stop Dave doing what he wants to do in the day and whatnot. Because Dave's been really busy lately. He's started doing some gardening for people, just casual. So he's out and about in all weathers doing that. So there's your paper heart pattern. I'm just going back onto Facebook on my laptop just so I can see you. Okay, so there's the paper heart. And then what we're going to do, if I put the camera like that, you'll be able to see me at the machine. And we're going to take the fabric. Now what I've put together here, but you're feeling sick, aren't you, me moving this camera around? I've put some fabrics together. These are the blue fabrics that we've got. I love this collection of Makower fabrics. And we're going to, if you've seen a picture of the pattern before, this is what they look like. And you can see that they're a solid 3D heart. But we're going to put the seam at the back, because I used to make loads of hearts for people. I'd make lavender hearts, key rings, all sorts of people for presents. And what I would do was leave this turning gap around here somewhere. I always used to leave about 3 inches as a turning gap here. And then when I turned it out, filled it with my toy filling, and then I would hand sew this seam together it never looked quite right, because it's never going to be as even as the one on the opposite side to get that symmetry and the nice heart shape. So what I'm going to do is I sew 2 pieces of fabric the same together here, and then I'll sew those together in a second. I'll show you clearly how it's done, and then your seam will be down the back, and then we're just going to unpick a few stitches and fill it from the back and put a few lavender petals in as well, so it's got a nice smell. And you can put it in your drawer, or you can hang it on your wardrobe. Lymph is saying, yeah, make it crystal clear for me, please, who hasn't sewn anything for 50 years since school. Oh, Lymph, you'll be much better at sewing than I am, probably, with all that experience. And yeah, super simple. I think you said you'd got a sewing machine, did you, for Christmas? So super simple, because I just, you know, you want to be able to access sewing, don't you? You don't want to be put off at all. I'm going to just put that in the bin so it's out of the way. That's one of my New Year's resolutions, tidy up as I go. And it's working so far, but then we're only on day 10, aren't we, of January. So when you get a fat quarter, this is how I wrap them, if you like. And I'm going to look at the fabric, because if you don't know about fabric, or you're new to sewing, perhaps it's something you've started this year, then you've got your salvage edge. Under here I've got my ironing board, by the way. So that's my ironing mat, my Jean Taylor ironing mat. I make myself a cover for it because they get really grubby, and then I just put an extra bit of fabric over the top, because they do get quite grubby. Just because you've got the iron on it all the time, I use a lot of Bonder web. So yeah, Santa hubby got it for Christmas, so it's a very simple one. You only need a simple machine. I've got one with, you know, 900 stitches or whatever it is, and I only use straight stitch and zigzag. That's it. So you don't need a big all singing all dancing machine for sure. So that's the size of my pattern. So I'm just going to start with, I'm just going to cut that fabric out, because this is going to be the front of my heart. So I'll put that there, and then I'll get some pins, and I'm going to pin that on the pattern onto the fabric. Now this is just normal printer paper, it's nothing fancy. You could design a pattern for the cover and sell it to Sewing Street. They need a cover. Yeah, they do. They get really grubby. All I did was just make this look, Dawn, you know, just a cover for it. Because, and even that look then got grubby again, so I put this nice denim-y fabric over. They don't stay clean for long with the if you're using Bonder web, and that best press just gets all over it, doesn't it? So yeah, I like a cover, then you can just whip it off and wash it. So I'm going to cut around that shape. Now you could use your rotary cutter to do this. I like using scissors. I'm a big fan of the rotary cutter, don't get me wrong, and I love my rotary cutter with the ruler, but if I'm doing something, especially if it's small like this, I'll just sit and cut it out with my scissors like this. Okay, so there's the heart, and that is going to be the front of my lavender heart. Okay, and then I've still got my pattern piece here, and what I'm going to do, let's say for the back, let's use, shall we use, oh, let's use that. Can you see it against this? Yeah. And what we're going to do, we're going to make the seam that we're going to open to fill the heart later. We're going to make that seam now. Okay, so you get your fabric. Now I was talking about salvage edges, because your salvage edges are always on the your left and right. That's the way the fabric is made, so that's on your left or right. So that's the weft, and that's the warp, and that's the right way around. And what I'm going to do is place my pattern piece on top, on the fabric, just as I did before when I cut this one out, but this time I'm going to make it slightly bigger, my original cut. So I'm going to cut just an inch bigger than it needs to be. Okay, then we'll just get rid of this piece. So you see, that is something. See this piece of fabric here, when Kath was talking about the fact that my scrap bags aren't scrap, because I will use a beautiful piece of fabric like that if I'm making samples for classes or shows or you know, other demos that I'm doing, I will take that bit of fabric out, and that I can't sell that now. I can't do anything with that fabric. So I would call that scrap. You know, I would cut maybe that off. I would use this piece for my hexagons, so I'd do some EPP with it, and then this bit I'll put in one of my scrap bags. So that's why I call them scrap bags, because they're essentially scrap in that I can't make much with them at that point. But they're great for the scrap bags for you guys. So yeah, it is the wrong word. I don't know what the word is, Kath. If you can think of something better than scrap or remnant, let me know. Okay, so I've got that little piece of fabric. I'm a big ironer, so I'm going to iron that fabric because they're all folded. There was just a few creases in there. You could use your best press if you wanted. So best press will just spray the fabric lightly. Piece of paper wants to join me, and then as you iron, it just irons it away. But it's a bit like it's starch, fabric starch, so that it makes that structure of that fabric a bit firmer. And then what I'm going to do is cut that fabric roughly in half. I'm not measuring it, as you can see. I'm doing it by eye. And what we're going to do in true patchwork or quilter style, I've cut that piece of fabric in half, and then I'm going to sew it back together. But what that will give me is a seam that I can then use for the back of my heart, to be able to fill the heart with toy filling. Okay, so I'm going to pin those two pieces together. I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch seam down here. Okay, so let me move this camera back up so you can see the machine. Not sure how well you'll see it, but you'll get the idea. So 1/4 inch seam allowance, but I've set my machine to, so it's already set up for a 1/4 inch seam. I never change it. And you know, talking about whether we use a fancy machine or a simple machine, mine's quite fancy, but I only ever really use straight stitch. It doesn't really vary unless I'm doing something like a buttonhole or something like that, but on the whole, just a straight stitch is all I use. So I have now, let me move you down again, sewn that seam. Let's cut that thread. I'm going to press the seam, so by that I'm going to iron it. So I'm pressing that seam, and what that does is it makes the stitches part of the fabric. It embeds the stitches into the fabric rather than them just sitting on top. Okay, and then I'm going to open my fabric out on the wrong side, and you can see I've got my seam here. Now the fabric's still warm from where I've just pressed it, so I'm going to just finger press it from the centre out and from the centre out there, just to give me a head start with the iron. And then I'm going to just press that seam open. I usually press seams to one side. If I'm quilting or bag making or something, or toy making, I will always press the seams to one side, but with this you want it open because it will give you a nice neater finish when you do the hearts. And then I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to press the right side of the fabric so that that's nice and structured and flat. Okay, then I'm going to take my pattern piece, so the same pattern piece, and this time I'm going to lay it on the fabric with that seam right down the center. So can you see how I'm lining that seam, which is there? I'm lining it up to the center of that heart there, and that seam with the bottom of the heart at the point. And what that will do is give me a nice vertical seam right down the center of the heart. So when it's finished, it will just look so neat and polished. And I know a lot of people do craft stalls, you know, sell things for charity. So, and anything of mine, any pattern of mine, please feel free to make the items, and you can sell them. You don't have to check or get permission off me at all. And the more, you know, the nicer the finish, the more professionally they finished, the more likely someone will be to buy them. Because I don't know about you, but you know, you go to all these shops, don't you, nowadays, like the Range and places like that, and you can buy lavender hearts probably, or little heart decorations. They're so cheap. It then makes it hard if you're a maker to actually sell things, you know, to get your money back on the fabric you've bought. But what I found when I used to make loads of stuff and sell it at little craft fairs and things. If it's nicely finished with your pressing, with your cutting, and it's nice fabric, they'll sell, and then you can raise money for charity, or, you know, towards your holiday fund or whatever it is. So just these little tips generally help. So I've got my 2 pieces of fabric now. So I've got my 2 hearts. I've got my plain heart, which is just 1 piece of fabric. That's going to be the front essentially. And then I've got my back, which has got that seam running all the way down the centre, and you can see on the back where I've cut it out. You can see I've just chopped that bit of fabric off there with the seam. That's no problem at all. Okay, now what we're going to do is place those right sides together, and that's how we're going to sew them. But we're also going to put a hanging loop on it so that we can hang the heart when we've finished it. So I'm going to cut a piece of this fine ribbon. This is just out of my ribbon box. I've got lots of bits of ribbon, I'm sure you have as well. It's about 3mm, so it's really quite small and dainty, this. And I'm going to, let's put a little knot in it. You could put a bead on here as well, couldn't you? I love beads and ribbon. Just really finishes things off, so that would be nice. In fact, I'm going to cut another bit because that's a little bit short. Let's make it a bit longer. I can use that for another. I never throw anything out. I bet you guys are the same. Never throw anything. So I'm going to put a little knot there, and I'm allowing myself a little bit extra at that end because this will be in the seam allowance. So this bit of the ribbon will be inside the heart. And then we're going to pop that there, because that is going to be part of the actual sewing. So when it's sewn up, it will then be able to be hang from there when we turn it the right side out. So I'm going to get a pin and pin that in place now. I'm going to pin this top edge, these 2 curves here. And you can see that my hanging heart loop is just poking out at the bottom. So make sure that that's inside, well out of the way of that seam allowance, because we don't want that to catch in the stitches. We want it well out of the way. I'm going to pin it in place so that we can then sew all the way around this heart with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. We'll catch that top in of that ribbon, which is inside between the 2 pieces of fabric, and it will be nicely secured. Okay, so don't leave a turning gap. We're going all the way round. Okay, so I'll move you up so you can see the machine. Our stashes are insulation, absolutely, Dawn. And I find that, you know, with this whole, you know, we're all really worried about the gas and electricity prices. Then yeah, the more fabric and stash you've got, the better. Wall insulation, isn't it? Now what I just did then on my sewing machine was I changed the stitch length to 1.8. So my machine generally defaults to a stitch length of 2. I like a stitch length of 2.4, but I just took it down to 1.8, and the reason for that is because you're going around the heart at that corner, not a corner, this edge, you know, the round curves. So the smaller your stitch, the less obvious that curve will be in terms of loads of straight stitches. Okay, so the smaller the stitch, the more even your curve will be. So I'm going to go round, I'm going to go up to the seam, and then I'm going to turn my heart to face me so that that seam line is on the horizontal, and then I'm going to do 2 stitches at that horizontal, at that vertical edge. So I'm going round the heart here, oh, round, and then when I get to there I'm going to do two stitches horizontal and then go back up here, and that will then just take out, you know, where you get sometimes that little pucker when you turn it through. That will get rid of that happening. Okay, and then I'm going to carry on sewing around this seam. Now, just another little tip, I don't know if your sewing machine does this, but I will always have my machine set so that the needle, when I stop sewing, the needle finishes in the down position. So it finishes in the down position so that I can move my fabric around. Because I move it around a lot like this, then it's still secure with that needle, it's holding it down. And I also, I don't know if your machine does this, I'm not sure if they all do or not. I think my other two machines previous to this one did. I set it so that when I take my foot off the pedal, the foot just lifts a little bit so that it gives me that room to move the fabric underneath it. But there's nothing wrong with the old, you know, your lever at the back, of course. You just get used to these gadgets, don't you, on your machine, and then you sort of forget what it was like before you had them. If I ever go somewhere and use a different machine, you know, it's very different from mine, because it's like your oven, isn't it? You get used to your own. Although I'm much more fond of my sewing machine than the oven, I have to say. So we finished the heart now, and what I'm going to do, I'm looking for my little scissors. Here they are. I'll pop this down again, sorry. Pop this down. I need to get an overhead camera, don't I, Dawn? I'm not sure how it all works. So there's my heart sewn all the way around. Okay, now what I'm going to do is take a bit bigger pair of scissors. I've just used those small ones to cut off the threads. I'm going to cut away the end of those bits of ribbon, because we're not going to need those, because this of course is going to be the inside, and I'm going to clip into that seam up to as close as I can to the stitches, because obviously don't cut the stitches because you'll end up with a big hole in your work. And I like to cut as much, I mean you could use pinking shears here, and then that would help the fabric give. What it's doing is helping it so that when you turn your fabric out, so you turn the heart out and you get your heart shape, it won't all pucker around the edge. It'll help that fabric to move. And then I'm going to cut that seam allowance off as much as I can at the point, because I want it to have a nice sharp point at the end of the heart. And then again I'm going to press, always press, because you're making the stitches then part of the fabric rather than they sitting on the fabric. And then take your quick unpick. And be careful here, because you've got two layers of fabric. So you've got the back, you've got the front, and you've also got that ribbon in there, the hanging loop. So be careful, you know, don't go at it like a bull at a gate, which I could very easily do. And just tease that seam apart a little. And then I'm going to just get my quick unpick and unpick one or two stitches, and then just pull gently, just gently pull the fabric apart. Okay, so I've cut into the seam around the edge, I've clipped off the seam allowance at the bottom, so I'm close to those stitches, and now this is where the magic happens. I'm going to turn it through, and you'll have a perfectly shaped heart with a hanging loop and an invisible seam once we've filled it and sewn it up by hand. Okay, so that's one side of the heart, looking good so far. Turn it round, and when you're pushing the seams out, I use the tip of my finger. I think of my fingers when I'm ironing as when I'm sewing as mini irons, because they're warm, so the heat from your fingers will actually really work the fabric. So push that seam out there. Get your little pokey tool and poke out the end as well, so you've got a nice point. Don't push too hard, because if you push too hard you'll go through the the stitches. You don't want that. And there's your little heart. And what you'll notice, because we did those stitches horizontally at the point there where the ribbon is, then you've got a nice finish. I mean, you'll when we fill it, you'll see that obviously shape better. But you've not got lots of puckered fabric in there, and that's what the back looks like. Now you can see I've opened that probably a bit too much, but I'm going to sew it so it's fine. But because I've opened it out to turn the heart out, obviously it just stretches and pulls those stitches. You need an atom switcher and you can use more than one camera at once. Yeah, thanks Dawn. Be really useful to know how all that works, because I'm okay with technology, but I'm not you know, massively into it. So we could really do with knowing more about the camera setup and how to have an overhead and things. But I think I'm doing okay actually as a oh, I've lost you again on Facebook. Hang on. I think I'm doing okay as a cameraman and or camera person, should I say, and sound and lighting. So what I've got here, I just bought these off Amazon. Some lavender hoods. They smell so nice. I'm just looking at them. Look how you can see them through the packet. Look how lovely are they? And they just, I wish I had smell-o-vision, because they're just absolutely beautiful. I love lavender. I mean, obviously you don't have to put lavender in, but that's what we're doing today. So I'm going to get some of this wadding. Now you can use toy filling. I'm just going to use this wadding, because what I always do with toy filling anyway, I am just going to rip it apart, because what happens with toy filling is it clumps together. So you know when you go to maybe a hotel or stay somewhere that you're not, you know, not home, sometimes the pillows are lumpy, aren't they? And what that is, it's just how the stuffing is sort of clumped together. So always pull it apart like this, and what that does is aerates it, gets lots of air to it, makes it nice and fluffy like cotton wool. And then just a little bit at a time, you don't have to go, you know, fill it all at once. Just take off little bits of toy filling or stuffing, whatever, and fill the heart. So I start by filling the top of the two, you know, heart top bits, working towards that point. So we're just filling it up. There's no rush. Is toy filling different from wadding? Good question, Linfant. It's pretty much the same. The reason this is called wadding, you can see it very clearly. You see how this is quite good for, you know, if you were making a quilt, so it lies very flat, so it'd be perfect for making a baby quilt or something. In fact, that's doubled over. It's quite thin, this one. Okay, so that's just a really thin wadding that would be perfect for a quilt for a pram or something like that, or for a bed. But toy filling is just looser. So toy filling looks more like this. So you can just buy a bag of toy filling and it just looks like that. So that's why I'm just showing you that you can use wadding if you've only got wadding in. If it's this kind of really fibery stuff, then yeah, you can use it because it's essentially the same. It's just that it comes in more of a fixed shape of being a flat piece. But don't be afraid to rip it up, because you want it to be aerated and soft and fluffy, you know. You don't want it to be lumpy bumpy, because you'll see those lumpy bumps through the fabric, and then your heart will be lumpy bumpy, and we don't want that. We don't want a lumpy bumpy heart. And then we're going to pull this out. You can see how much filling they take. It always amazes me. You know, you think, oh, I'll only need a little bit of filling for that, and actually it takes quite a lot. So don't be afraid to just keep ripping it and filling it. Don't think, oh God, I seem to be putting a lot in there. You know, Debbie didn't seem to put that much in. You do. You know, you can buy a big bag of toy filling or wadding and it'll soon go, especially if you're making like in this trio of hearts pattern, there's that little cushion. It's only a small cushion as well, but it really does take more wadding than you think. And when I'm filling anything, I don't know about you, I like it really firm. So I don't like it to be sort of squishy squashy. I put plenty of filling in. Okay, so there you can see it's starting to fill up. That's what the front's looking like. Now to get this pointy bit, because I like the pointy bit to be firm as well, this bit here. So I'm just going to take a little bit of filling, rip it like you do, and then push it down towards that end. And then if you get just the end of a pen or a pencil, this, well, no, that's that was a paintbrush. Get a little pen and push it down, push the filling down to the end. Then you're going to get a nice fill right down to the bottom. Okay. And then you may then just need to fill a little bit in there so it's even, because you want it to be a nice even finish. You don't want one half to be fuller than the other. Just takes a bit of practice, but you can always shuffle the filling around when you've finished it anyway. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I've left enough room to, you're best to use, I've got like a little shovelly thing here that is off the end of a pencil sharpener, or you could use a little teaspoon. So I just take the lavender in my little scoop and push it in. Ooh, flicking it about, it's like tiddlywinks. I've probably, let me take a bit of filling out because I've not left enough room for it, have I? I got so carried away. Let me fill that back in. I forgot to put the lavender in when I should have done. Let's put that in there. So again, that doesn't have to be necessarily be evenly distributed. You can just pop it in at the end, or you could have put it in at the beginning so that you haven't got this faffing around like I've been left with. Carried away with my toy filling. There we go. And then just put a bit more filling in. Kath says, Dave might be redundant. I know, Kath. He's too busy gardening these days. He's got lots of ladies he helps out. That's what he tells me. And does their gardens for them, cuts the grass. So yeah, I've had to be self-sufficient, Kath, you know. But thank you for the vote of confidence. I think I'm doing all right. He seems all right, doesn't he? See what I'm doing? And when Dawn tells me how to get multi-camera set up, well, I'll be like the BBC, won't I? So, what am I doing? Let me get my little thimble out because I can't sew without my little thimble. So, I've already loaded a needle up with some thread, although it's not the right colour. A lovely gift that you can send in the post to cheer up friends. Absolutely, Dawn. Wouldn't it be nice to just receive something like this in the post from someone who thought, oh, I'm just going to make them a nice little lavender heart? One of those presents that's, oh, how lovely is that? So I'm going to sew this together. You can see I'm just pushing it together with my fingers. And then I'm going to keep it closed up. You could use a bit of fabric glue here to help, or you could pin it. Like I say, I'm not a big pinner at all. I tend to go without pins. I sometimes clip, you know, the little quilters clips that we've now got on our elephant's tails, pin cushions. Okay. Now, as I said, this turning gap ended up being longer than I would have liked, because it just stretched open. Some of the stitches came open as I was opening it out, you know, turning it through. But that doesn't matter because you're sewing it up anyway. And when you sew, I love a bit of hand stitching. When you sew, you're wanting the stitches to be quite tiny because you want them to disappear almost. That's what this seam, because you've put the effort in to make this seam invisible. The smaller your stitches, and as I say, I'm not using a matching thread here, so you can see my stitches, which for demo is fine. But if I was doing this to send to someone or to hang myself, I would have used a bluey, you know, a denim blue colour thread, so that you wouldn't see it at all. Then it'd be completely invisible. It's like a ladder stitch. I just call it a slip stitch, but you can do a ladder stitch, you know, where you just pop your stitches, tiny stitch in one side and then the opposite side, then you just pull them together just to make them in small and as invisible as you can. My needle's just come unthreaded. These needles, I absolutely love them. They're the hemline gold ones. They're so tiny, they're perfect for EPP, and but they could be a bit of a nightmare to thread, because because they're so dainty, the eye of it is obviously dainty too. So takes a little bit of concentration. It's a good job I've got my new prescription glasses, because I'm having to change my prescription on my glasses almost every year now, because my eyes are just doing overtime, you know, with all the sewing. I wonder if you find the same. So almost there. It's a little bit fiddly when you get to the end, because you just want those stitches to be really neat, and you don't want to catch your needle coming back out. Okay, so I'll then just loop that through so that I knot it off securely, and there we are, and then snip off the thread. Okay, and there is your lovely lavender heart. Let me move the camera. There we go. So there it is. And because we put that, what I'm going to do, when you turn it out, you'll notice some of the filling sort of pops out the back, only little fine tiny strands, so you can just snip those off. And then because you've already put your ribbon in, I might just give that ribbon a press. If I just put some paper over it so the iron doesn't scorch and burn it, because it was all creased up in the middle of the heart, it all got a little bit creased. And there you go. So what you can see, you've got a nice little heart filled with lavender, and that's your front. And then on the back you can see my stitches because I was using that contrasting colour, but if you did those in a matching thread, the blue for example, then you wouldn't see those, they'd almost be invisible, and you've got a really nice symmetrical shaped heart, so you've not got a strange little turning gap there. And yeah, really lovely little gift. I think Elaine just said that, a really nice little gift for someone. Absolutely fabulous, Lympha. Oh, I hope you thought that was easy, Lympha. I think it's really easy. It's a bit tricky, the trick in that you're going, you know, you're doing these round sewing on your machine. So if you're new to your sewing machine and you've not had one for a while, you may just find that it's a little bit tricky. But if you make your stitches quite small, I changed mine to 1.8. You should be able to do that on your machine, make them smaller, and then that just keeps the stitches tiny so that you're not getting that sort of square shape around that edge. And obviously yours will look neater than mine anyway, because you won't be rushing, you'll be able to take your time. I like it because they just, when you hang them somewhere, especially if it's loose like that, they just turn then, don't they, all by themselves, and then you get to see both sides. Of course you could do it in one fabric, you could do it in multiple fabrics. You could, you know, do with this side one fabric and that side another and make it completely different, or you could do it in patchwork. So make whatever fabric you use is irrelevant really. The key is to have that two pieces of fabric there sewn together so the seam is down the bottom. So I'm glad that you're going to give that a go, Lympha. That's brilliant. Yeah, need to get a little iron. They are really useful, these little irons. I'm just going to turn mine off now. Yeah, they're handy because they're just really quite tiny, and you know, you've not got the weight, or it's not so much the weight of a big iron. These are really good because they get, you know, you're just working with small pieces of fabric, they just get right into the points and things. But yeah, definitely I would definitely get one of those. I did have some of those in stock, but they went. So we don't carry those in stock all the time. But if ever you need anything, keep looking on the website, because as I say, we're always getting new things in, and usually, well, it's always things that I use, so that's why we've had those for sale before. So thank you so much for joining me. I am going to go now and have a little cup of tea, and I hope you enjoyed our afternoon together. I absolutely loved it. I've had a great time. I've really missed it. So yeah, I'll be back regularly now on a Tuesday, or follow me on Instagram and Facebook and you'll see when I'm on, if there's a different day for some reason. think in a couple of weeks I'm back on Sewing Street on the Tuesday, so I think I'm doing the live on the Monday. So I'll keep you informed of when I'm on anyway. Please go onto YouTube, subscribe to my channel, and then I'll also upload these videos so you can watch them back, so that if you then think, oh, what did Debbie say about that, you can just look back on the video and see it. That smells lovely, by the way. I smell the lavender. It's lovely. I'm going to keep that in my sewing room for me. I'm going to keep it all just for myself. Make myself a little pretty. Thanks, Kath. Oh, thank you. Thanks, Lympha. Definitely see you all again. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you all soon. Take care. Happy sewing. Keep sewing, as Claudia and Tess would say, and have fun. Bye, darlings. Bye-bye.